Hi guys, it's SkintBoot here, and today what I'm going to be bringing you guys after a fairly long time is a No Man's Sky video. And I know uploads have been slow at the moment, but hopefully the streams that I've been doing have made you realise that I am still very much involved with YouTube and I am actually alive. So, you know, I know it's no excuse, but I'm hoping that has just made you realise I haven't just fucking quit. There's a load of different reasons, but that's all for another video. Regardless, today I want to bring you a video talking about the best mods that work with No Man's Sky that are compatible with the newest update, that being the Atlas Rises update, or as a lot of people call it, 1.3. I made this video because in my streams and especially in the comment sections, I get a load of questions from people asking what mods I use in my game. And this isn't a new thing, this has been happening for a while, which is why I made a video a bit of time ago now talking about the best mods for the game that make the game almost look like how it was shown to be at E3. But now, because 1.3 has dropped and every time there is an update for No Man's Sky, mods are usually affected because the game changes, things become incompatible, stuff breaks, all of that stuff. I felt like it'd be right to give you an updated version of the best mods, as I said, that I use that all work with 1.3. None of that shit to do with crashing or conflicting mods. These are all 100% working. Now, I do want to quickly say that the review of the 1.3 update has been postponed because I was originally working on a review of co-op, but because I needed gameplay of playing with people, it just made the editing a whole lot harder, and as a result of that, it is very likely I will just have to abandon the video. I might make what is ready available to see as like a little bit of cut content for MZK, but for the most part, I'm kind of giving up on that video, which is a shame, but maybe later it may come out. Now, some of these mods will be available to download off a website called No Man's Sky Mods, or alternatively Nexus Mods, which do a shit ton of other games. Both websites require an account in order to download. That is one thing to note, and of course all of them will be available to download in the description of the video. Now, with that out of the way, let's get started. Now, the first mod which I want to talk about is probably the biggest one on this list, and this is a pretty fat mod called Extreme Terrain. Now, this was a mod that was very popular in the 1.1 days of No Man's Sky, but it was never actually updated to work with 1.2, and as such, a lot of people just kind of forgot about it. And this caused a load of different issues with 1.2, and it created crashing and just loads of issues. So people started using other things like better environments, other options like that. However, the mod has now been updated to work with 1.3. It just kind of came out of nowhere, and I am overjoyed that we can now experience this fantastic mod once more. Like most terrain mods that have been made for No Man's Sky, Extreme Terrain opts to change up the landscapes of planets in the game by making them more varied and exciting, so exploring isn't as boring and repetitive. However, unlike other terrain mods, Extreme Terrain takes this to extreme lengths by attempting to create some truly breathtaking environments that vary based on biome and population. Another mod which people used for a very long time, called Better Environments, was almost like a timid version of this mod, where there was still this feeling of vanilla No Man's Sky. It wasn't so out of control, everything was a lot more toned down, but there still was that added bit of variety. However, Extreme Terrain, and this is why I actually do prefer it over Better Environments, kind of just shoves all of the realism and shoves all of the restraints to the side that Hello Games put in for the No Man's Sky procedural generation, and just goes overboard completely to give planets a sense of scale and power, which just isn't felt in the vanilla version of the game. Mountains are now taller with steeper inclines and rougher edges. Rivers can be wider and branch off into other direction, and caves can be deeper, longer, and can even spawn going down mountains, which is just fucking terrifying, especially for those people that don't overly enjoy heights. This mod also makes for some excellent screenshots, like basically every mod on this list, with some of the mountains even looking close to the field fields of Skyrim in snowy biomes, and all of this just makes for a pleasant viewing experience that satisfies both casual and hardcore players, as well as the tame photographers who dedicate whole hard drives to No Man's Sky screenshots. It is an absolutely necessary mod for all PC players to have, as currently there aren't that many terrain mods, at least to my knowledge, that have been updated to work with 1.3. This is basically your best bet, and once you get used to having modded terrain, it's very, very difficult to go back to vanilla No Man's Sky. Everything just seems so much more boring and so much more predictable. The only downside to this mod, which I will bring up, is that sometimes it can cause some issues with falling through the ground and getting stuck under the map, especially when you're climbing like ridiculously high mountains that are above the clouds. It is possible to simply fall underground. If you saw my last stream, you'll know that it ended when I fell through the map and I gave up.
Hello, welcome for— oh, fuck me, what happened? Oh, shit. No, we fucked it, boys, we fucked it.
But honestly, aside from that, the mod is flawless, and sometimes you can get some really, really strange looking planets that some people could find a bit jarring just because there is so much happening. It's actually almost like quite difficult to explore the terrain with having to go up all these fat hills and steep inclines, but at least for me, I believe it just makes things a shit ton more exciting. Definitely better than just wandering these same like basic hills that really just don't do anything. So yeah, honestly, an essential mod. 100% need to have it. Now the next mod which I want to talk about is a small little water mod called Tides and Waves. Now this is a mod that has always impressed me ever since it first released. It was one of my favorite mods during 1.2 just because of how impressive it is to be a community made project. Now Tides and Waves basically does what it says in the name. It adds animation to the water on planets, whether it be seas, lakes or rivers. Water no longer feels so static and boring. It is now a living entity that can actually be quite beautiful to look at sometimes, and especially since the water in vanilla version of No Man's Sky is just so fucking boring. It doesn't do anything. This is a welcome change to the game. It is truly an impressive mod, and it is also a mod that works really well with other water mods, as I will explain shortly. The only issue with this mod, and again I have to bring this up, is the fact that it can have an impact on performance. Planets with a shit ton of water, like island planets, do give me significant frame rate drops, even dip into like the 20s and below, and I'm rocking an i5 6600K with a GTX 1060. This isn't too much of a problem though, as it only really affects you when you're flying. Plus you don't get these planets all that often, so don't let it put you off. Either way though, it just adds to that feeling of immersion in No Man's Sky, especially with swimming and when there are bodies of water that are actually quite rough and there are quite big waves that are actually going around. Now of course they're not animated to like crash on the shores or anything like that, although there is like high tide and low tide, so don't expect to have like an actual functioning Unreal Engine 4C on the go, but it is still regardless a huge improvement over the vanilla water in No Man's Sky. Now a mod which is related to this called True Water is yet another water mod that goes very, very well with Tides and Waves. In fact, the creator of Tides and Waves even recommends that you use this mod with it, so of course I had to put it in here. As I said, this is yet another water mod that nicely complements Tides and Waves, but unlike Tides and Waves, it is a bit more subtle. The aim of True Water is to remove that butters foamy texture that all water has in No Man's Sky. You know, the one that just looks fucking disgusting, and I don't understand why it's even there in the first place. It also gives water this very reflective and just realistic look, which overall just adds to the feel of the already beautiful water given with tides and waves. It just addresses the horrible issue with water being disgusting and boring to look at. And I know it's no secret that water is easily the worst looking part of No Man's Sky, alongside the shitty pixelated clouds. It's definitely something that Hello Games needs to address themselves, but for now, this mod and tides and waves really does make a difference. You can rock tides and waves without this, but it just doesn't look as good. This almost brings it close to kind of like Skyrim EMB levels of water, where it just looks so shiny and reflective. It's really quite beautiful to look at. And again, if you love screenshots, this really does just add to it. And the last mod which I want to talk about is probably one of my favourite mods ever made, and that is Crescent Worlds. Now, this is a mod which I have always recommended to viewers and subscribers ever since I first uploaded the Make Your Game Look Like E3 video, and thankfully it has been updated to now work with 1.3. Now, this mod is quite subtle, but the changes it brings to No Man's Sky are so important and impressive just because of how often you will see the effects of it. Now, Crescent Worlds is a bit difficult to explain what it does because, to be honest with you, it is very, very subtle. However, in basic terms, it just aims to better improve the shading on distant planets viewed from a planet you are currently on. So the shadow casted on parts of planets just look a lot more realistic and generally just beautiful, to be honest with you. A load better than the vanilla methods. There isn't really a lot to say, to be honest with you. It just looks great and it just makes some impressive screenshots if you're into that, which of course everyone is, even if it's a bit on the down low. But that is the end of the video, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. Of course, those aren't all of the mods. There are plenty of other ones, but I tried to put the most effective ones in here. If you want to see almost like a part 2 to this video, then please do let me know and I will consider that. Please do stay tuned for some 1.3 videos that will eventually be coming out. Thank you for bearing with me whilst I try and fix this broken upload schedule. But regardless, I do hope you enjoyed. As always, if you did enjoy, then please do feel free to leave a like on the video. If you guys could also subscribe to MZK, then that'd be absolutely fantastic. And as always, I will see you guys on my next video. This is SkintBoot, signing out.